There we go, folks, the 2000. It's the Yamaha, it's the Big Bear. It's got the 400 in it, and it's broke. So it's a used four-wheeler I bought off the Craigslist. He said no low ballers, he knows what he's got. Go up to look at it, pretty decent, looks like it's in decent shape, aka the wheels aren't falling off it. It's also 23 years old at this point in time. The only thing I noticed is when I took it for a little rip there, it shifts pretty hard. So if you get the car, if you get it cruising, just kind of floating in between gears, you know, bang, 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 you can bang right through the gears, no problem. It appears that the secondary clutch isn't disengaging. So these have two clutches because it's an automatic. So it has a centrifugal clutch that runs inside of a mechanical clutch basket. And the way that I understand it is when we shift, when you pick up on the shift lever, with your foot, it should disengage the clutch pack, and letting off the throttle disengages the centrifugal clutch, so to speak. And there's something there that's broke. It's not disengaging the secondary clutch or primary. I might have them mixed up. The actual mechanical clutch with the clutch discs in it is not disengaging. There's an adjustment on the side here by the recoil starter, and I was like, well, maybe it's just way out of adjustment. Lowball them anyways, bought it cheap, cracked that nut loose, and the adjuster won't turn. It feels like there's something broke. So what I think we should do is pull this cover off the side here where the recoil is. We'll pull that apart and look in there and see if we can learn something. I did buy a manual for it off the Amazon, a climber's manual, and it appears that it should have what we need if we get it all tore apart and everything falls in a pile and we don't know what's going on because we're not four-wheeler mechanics. So let that be a disclaimer. So let's rip and tear. So yeah, so here's the adjuster. And like I say, when we shift, there should be a mechanism in here with a rod going through to the clutch basket that's on the other side of the machine. You're gonna have to excuse my ignorance of not knowing part, terminology, things of that nature, because like I say, I'm not a four-wheeler mechanic. Let's pull the, I guess we can just get the recoil off here. We'll have to get this little plastic cover off. We'll have to mark the shaft here for the shift linkage. Get that off. Got some wires coming out of here, so I don't know if there's a stator, or what all's inside there. Goes back to a connector here just behind the fender. We should be able to get that stuff off and hopefully see what's broken, and hopefully not a lot of part numbers just fall on the floor here. This looking like probably an 8mm is going to be my guess. Yes, sir. I don't know if we have to, if pulling the recoil is necessary. It may not be. We're going to do it anyways. Alright, so, whoa. Looks like 4 bolts there. 4 of those little guys. See if there's any surprises behind here. Nope. There is a gasket, however, and that's got a little dog that comes out there. Clicks on that baby. So it does appear that it is necessary, because this little fella's probably got to come off. Looks that way. Looking like a 17. And it is 17. I don't know if it's right hand thread or not. We'll give her a couple Uggy Duggies here and see what happens. She's right hand thread. And it is splined. Oh, and there is an oil seal there. Oh, for some reason I thought this side of the case was dry. I thought when I pulled this out I could hear stuff, sound like stuff was dripping, but. All right, and this looks like maybe just a retainer for that oil seal, this little thing here. Okay, so, well, we'll set that down. I think these look like they're smaller than 8, but they're not. Surprise! And then what's this? Maybe it's 5mm. Man, look at this guy just nailing his sizes today. It is a 5mm too. We'll pop that off. All right, So that's now I do see on the end of the shaft it does have a mark in it, and that mark is right in that open slot. I think we'll play it safe. We'll mark it ourselves with our own special mark, and that one looks like a 10 mil. And that is a 10 mil. So we'll have to grab a ratchet. We'll grab ourselves a paint marker, and we'll just take and mark this, even though it has somewhat of a mark on there. Anyhow, I'll get this little catch pan too. Yeah, I thought it would be dry behind that cover. Maybe that's just a dust seal. I don't know. Like I said, I do have the book. We could look in there. But we're men. We'll get it good messed up, then we'll look in there and hope we have the right pictures and stuff. We're just gonna mark this with a Sharpie. Okay? Here's a guy who didn't even bring a screwdriver. You know who's a ding dong? It's this guy's a ding dong because I'm assuming that this is just a pinch bolt. However, it probably goes through a round part of the shaft. You know, like a steering shaft on a rack and pinion. That's what I'm thinking. Gonna spread her open there a little bit. Now we'll give her a little what's up. Oh yeah, see, so she does have a flat spot in it. That makes a lot more sense now, fella. And that does have a seal around it there. I hope they still make parts for this thing, that's all I'm saying. Apparently this model is the same from 2000 to 04. Is what I've learned there when I was looking for a manual. Now we don't know if all these bolts are different. So we're gonna kind of leave them. Yeah, these ones are definitely longer here. I'm gonna go get a piece of cardboard. We're gonna make ourselves a template. Draw a picture of it before we go popping it off. Okay, that looks like everybody. I'm gonna make ourselves a template, and then we can poke the screws in it in case they are different lengths. I don't know if they are, but just in case. It's my official template. All right. Made some notes on there for myself. Take all the screws out and go just like this. It's always a good habit if you're not familiar with what you're working on. And it's only good as if the last guy who had it apart put them back where they belong, you know? So we're hoping that that's the case. And there may only be one bolt that's different, but for what it's worth, looking at it, it looks like there's 3 of them that are different sizes just at a glance. And they should be quite obvious, but you never know. It looks like it's these 2, yeah, these 2 electrical connectors here. If I get them undone, I'll show you. There's one. So pretty standard style connectors. You know, you see these on Yamahas all the time, you know. 4-wire and a 3-wire connector, okay. Come on, little frog, there we go. So there, this one, little push tab, push it in. The other one had a tab on the male half that you just picked out. Okay, this is where it's all gonna go wrong. Make sure we got all the bolts out, and we do. There is a plug right here, this plastic plug. Oh, look at that, we gotta screw it with our fingers. I assume it's probably a timing mark. It's oily. I would assume there's some kind of, you know, service plug remove for something or other. Let's get a hammer. tap on this case gingerly, see if we can get it to break loose, because if there is oil in here, A, we should have drained it, and B, there's probably going to be a gasket. Oh, it sounded like she come loose. Whoops, yep, some oil's pee-peed out the bottom there. Feels like she's still holding up here. Oh, so I'm gonna push in on that shift lever. Oh man, let's let the oil drain out. Oil looks clean, it's not full of metal, so that's good. Yeah, it feels pretty freaking springy. Okay. When something doesn't feel right, stop. Maybe we gotta take the nut off the adjuster there. Let's grab a socket. Grab one here in the middle. Grab a 14. Way too big. I meant to say get a 12. Yeah, first try. Oh yeah. The end of this thing is kind of chowdered up a little bit where somebody had a flathead in there and was really getting after it. I don't think that did zippy zap for us. Ooh, yeah, it did help a little bit. Oh, maybe, oh, you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling a magnet. It must be the stator. Okay. Yeah, yes sir, there it is. Okay, I was feeling a magnet pulling on me. So this is a little apparatus that I don't think is working. All right, well, let's set this thing down before it all falls apart. Wow, this is pretty tricked out, huh? This, I believe, is the rod that runs over to the mechanical clutch over there. Okay, let's have a little look-see here. Let's do this. Being that we're guessing, let's do some more guessing. I guess that doesn't need to be perfect, I suppose. Okay, we just got to kind of look at things, see what we can learn. All kinds of fun stuff in here. Ooh, it's all kinds of stuff, looks like it could fall apart. Okay. I wonder. Boy, I don't know if you're supposed to be able to push in on that. I don't know how much effort it takes to push in to release that clutch basket. I'm not feeling it move whatsoever. Okay, let's examine this other half. Yeah, so when we look inside here, see this little notch right here? This is just a cam mechanism. You see how that kind of pops up and down, okay? Pushes up and down. Well, when you shift it, it moves this lever here, which is in this cam right here, and it pushes this, which essentially should push this control rod that goes over to the other side. And okay, so I better do this in front of the camera in case I forget how it goes together. So we've got that little bushing there. All right, oh look at that. Told you something was broken. That ball's all bent up. You bent your balls, lady. Let me, actually let's go do this over on the bench. And maybe it's chowdered up because, who knows why. Maybe because we can't push the shaft in. We'll have to get a bar and see if we can push in. It might take a little more effort than what I think, but I don't know. This doesn't really look like it has a lot of strength or power. You know, if you think about it, where the fulcrum and the effort and everything is applied to this little lever. Okay, we got a couple dowel pins we don't want to lose either. Let's go over on the bench. Yeah, so this ball here is, the retainer's all bent. So we know that's bent. This is probably gonna come out through that seal kind of hard. Oh, I see, it just has a rubber gasketed washer on the other side. All right. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, so that's just a cam mechanism. That sits in there. Well, let me fiddle with this here for a little bit, folks. I don't know if this is, you know, the cause of a problem or if that's the results of a bigger problem. So I'll have a look at that. So what I'm wondering here, so this is all chowdered up, okay? So when I first got this machine, I thought, well, maybe it was a clutch adjustment was off, not really knowing the function here of this mechanism. I cracked the jam nut loose and I tried turning this screw, seeing it, you know, this thing wasn't turning. However, when I look at this, so when this is all together, okay, so that goes in there. You got your cam balls that go on there, and you got that mechanism there. We go down, we hit the shifter. You guys saw how this works. Maybe I'll do it so you can see it sideways, but as this rotates, you know, obviously it starts to come up. It comes up those balls, it kind of ramps it, pushes on that shaft. My hypothesis here is somebody had this thing and they couldn't shift it, because this was adjusted properly. This was all the way out against the rod, and now all of a sudden we can't shift the machine because we can't push that rod in. So what they did is they backed the clutch adjustment all the way off, because if I'm looking at this correctly, this is threaded all the way through there, and by rotating this screw, it's going to cause this to come out, or once it's in here, it's going to start to lift this whole pivoting assembly. So it's going to take this whole assembly right here, and it's going to move the whole thing closer to that clutch rod. Again, excuse my lack of terminology here. Once they figured out they couldn't shift it, they backed this nut all the way off, got this thing far away from that rod, and we're able to shift it again, which you can, like I say, you can run and drive and shift the machine, but it doesn't shift real good. So that's what's happening. Let's see if we can break this bolt loose here. We could test this theory and put the whole thing back together, but I'm certain that we're gonna find something else broke on the other side of the machine in the actual mechanical clutch is what I think we're gonna find broken. Obviously we need to fix this, but like I say, I believe this was probably results of an actual problem, not the actual problem. That can probably be straightened. But yeah, let's see if we can't put this in the vise and break this sucker loose right here. I'm gonna lock that part of it in the vise there. Let's see. Oh, could have done that with your hand, Jeannie. Yep, that's what they did. So the clutch adjustment was backed all the way off. See, that's a super fine screw. And like I say, this just takes that whole cam mechanism and pushes it closer to the clutch rod. So that's what they did. And he said, no low ballers, I know what I got. So hopefully that makes sense to you now, because when this is in there, and then this clutch adjustment here is on the outside of the case, okay? Oops. So when that's in, and I turn the clutch adjuster, you know, all it's doing is taking up free play. So you can see the whole mechanism is starting to raise now. Rise, rise. There it is, okay. So that's our hypothesis. All right, let's kind of stick some things back together here, because we ain't gonna remember. At least this guy's not. You guys will, because you'll watch the video intently and be like, you did it wrong. But that's okay. That's how we learn. Stick that O-ring on there. We're gonna have to make a list of parts we're gonna have to get. And like I say, hopefully, with a little bit of luck, they still make parts for a 23-year-old machine. That's a pry bar. Whoa, ho, 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 crap biscuit. That almost all came apart. And we weren't ready for that. Oh, I see, that's the old. Oh, I see. Okay, we would have been safe-ish. Okay, let's get the pry bar in here. Need something to take up some space, just like me in high school. Well, let's use this. We'll use our noodle. We'll take our 10 millimeter. I just want to see. I assume this is seized up. Yep. Oops. Oh, wait a minute here. Oh no, let's push this. What? Say what? No, wait, is that thing cam that hard? So we need to know if that's releasing the clutch. So the only way to know that is to put it in gear. So let's see, that's one shift up, puts it in first gear. Let's see. Okay, so that's in first gear. And right now, make sure the key's off. If we roll the machine ahead, you can see the crankshaft wants to turn, okay? Let's go get the very lovely Mrs. O. Are you ready, Mrs. O? Just go ahead and don't like surge it, just lean into it.
Just a little?
Like you're trying to push it, but it just doesn't want to go, okay? Just hold some pressure on it. Oops. You holding the pressure there, old girl?
How long do I gotta do it for?
Oh, shoot. Okay, just a minute. Okay, try to push the machine. Does it push any easier?
Nope.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, that's good. See, I don't know how much force we're supposed to be able to push against the shaft. What do you
Yeah,
think?
me to tell you.
How much force you need against the shaft?
This is my area.
This is your area of expertise. So, I didn't know you were a Big Bear mechanic.
Ah, as much as you are.
Oh, okay. Well, that puts us about in the same class. So interesting. It just seems like a lot of force to me. So here's what I say. I say we straighten this thing up, which this thing's just tin. I just took my little pliers there and kind of bent that all back straight, okay? All it has to do is retain these balls, keep them from falling out. And then I say we just kind of wipe stuff off here. Let's stick this case back on, just put a couple bolts in it, hook our shift mechanism back up, adjust our clutch out to where we know it's making contact, and see if it has the ability to disengage that clutch basket, or at least push this in. Having no previous experience with these, I don't know what type of force it takes to push that in. So I don't know. And then we'll fill it back up with oil. We'll put some new oil in it, and we'll fill it back up and see what happens. I didn't demonstrate to you guys how it was before, but just envision yourself putting a car in gear without pushing your clutch in. That's what it would do. Clunk, that thing would, would slam into gear. Of course, it wouldn't move because the centrifugal clutch wasn't engaging, but it was pretty clunkety. So that's what I'm gonna do. I won't bore you guys with this portion of it because you've already seen all of this. That mechanism there. Put this mechanism here, line up your dot, pointing with the shaft, and then I'm gonna take and back the screw all the way off. So that's as far away from the push rod as possible. Okay, those are just the pilot holes for these two gears there. I'm just having a looky at things. We probably should replace the gasket, but we're not gonna do that right now because we're still in the process of trying to troubleshoot this. Now the only thing I'm wondering is how do we hold this where we need to That might be a little trickier. Well, let's just see what happens. I don't believe that we can get it together without that being where it needs to be. It's really difficult to see in there. I think what I want to do is kind of wiggle this. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it looked like it was on the edge of the fork. I figured if I could wiggle this, we'd be okay. Come to find out, that's all we needed. It was just a little wiggle. All right. Tell you what. Let's just grab a couple bolts here. I don't think we need to put all the bolts back in it. We need just enough to hold this case together. So let's take and torque those down to factory specs. Oh, I thought it must be my socket kicked off. I was like, oh man, don't tell me that hole's stripped out. And then now we're gonna unwind this little guy. Okay, we must be touching the clutch rod now, because I backed this out until our mechanism is out touching. So now the $1 million question will be is, can we shift it? Let's see, we're gonna kind of line that back up a little bit about where it was. It doesn't really 100% matter. We're gonna go down into neutral. Okay, that's neutral. So we can shift it. The shifter feels way springier than it did. Let me just see. Back that off some more. I mean, it has to be camming and pushing in on that little guy. Now, I don't know the amount of tension that you put on this thing. That we're gonna have to look up. So right now, as I'm unscrewing this, it's pushing in, you know, on that rod. Yeah, so we've got it in way too far. Okay. So let's see, we wanna decrease. I just wanna see something here. Okay. So we'll go back into neutral. Okay, so let's go ahead and just back this all the way back out. So essentially we're turning this to screw it in. Okay, so now we're just now touching the rod. I can feel it as you turn it. It just now touches the rod. I don't know as if I'd be able to get that nut back on there. I should have cleaned the burrs off of this while I had it out, but I didn't. Make sure that O-ring is pushed back in the case there. We're gonna have to look in service data to see right in the frickin' oil pan. We're gonna have to look in service data to see what the proper procedure is for setting this. Right in the oil pan again. How many times can we do that before I move the pan? I don't know. How many licks does it get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? 3. That's the answer. All right, so we're gonna leave that crack loose. Even though I told you I wasn't gonna show you how I put that on, we did that whole process. So at this point, I'm not gonna show you the rest because I'm just gonna put these bolts back in. Back to factory spec. We're gonna put the thing all back together. Just kind of temporary. Oh, here's a guy who's got the order. The bolt's screwed up already. And then we're gonna fire it up. Let's see. see if it feels any different or works any different than it did. I figured before we get sidetracked, we should be smart about this. Dump a little bit of lubrication in here. Alright, but not any old lubrication. These are 4-stroke wet clutch. I'm going to use some Velvet. It's the 1040 UTV 4-stroke oil, specifically made for wet clutch applications. And let's see, what else does it say? Extreme condition performance, guaranteed maximum power. Holy crap, I don't know if we'll be able to hang on to this thing once we're done with it. So let's dump it. We'll just dump these core. We probably could dump our old oil in there, just for testing purposes, but we'll try to be somewhat civilized about this. Seems like it took forever to find out how in the thunder you adjust this sucker. I finally found it. It's not in the clutch section where you'd think. It's under maintenance, and it's not in the index under adjustment or clutch adjustment. It is under periodic maintenance. What they claim is that we go counterclockwise until resistance is felt. Okay, so that's going to be where it comes out and actually hits the pin. And then once resistance is felt, it says to turn it clockwise 1/8 of a turn and then snug it up. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get our wrench in here. We're going to get her not there, kind of close. So let's see here. Make sure it's backed off. Okay, so I feel resistance right there, and then back it off just a whisker, and then snug it up. So that puts us right up against that release mechanism. We're downtown here, so I don't know if I should really take her for a rip there. But I'm gonna take it for a rip, and we're gonna see what it feels like. I wanna see if it shifts any better. It must, I would think, if that clutch is disengaging. It should. So right now we're in neutral. When we shift up on it, if you held the shifter up like this when I go with my toe, and you gave it gas, the machine would go. But now it won't go until you let off the shifter. See what I'm saying? Back up here. So if we hold it up, oops, stalled it. So if we hold up on it, it disengages the clutch and we can rev it up even though we're not neutral. So as soon as we let off the shifter, now we can go. So it is working as intended. That's just lovely. So I wonder what in the world happened there. How that got all bent up and stuff, because like I say, it seems to works as intended now. Because that was the big thing I noticed, like I say, when I test drove it up there, before I gave the guy any money for it. You know, you'd hold up on the shifter, it didn't matter. And I'm not a big ATV guy, but I've had quite a few of them in the past, and I know on these semi-automatics with centrifugal clutches, if you hold up on the shifter, it would disengage the secondary clutch, or your typical clutch basket. Because, you know, when you're a kid, if you're out there beating the piss out of your machine, you hold up on your shifter, and then you let go of the clutch, and then you can do the neutral drop. But I assume that gasket's gonna be leaking oil and stuff, so I'm gonna see about getting some parts here. Oh yeah, pretty much fixing four-wheelers.
I knew you
See, I'm doing the strut over here. You're not even looking, I'm strutting.
Wow.
Yeah, we fixed her up. Need to get a gasket now, no parts required. Boom.
So it's You don't need any parts?
Nope, just a gasket. Good thing we beat them up for about 300 bucks.
I think it was 2.
Was it 2? I thought it was 3.
No.
Well, good thing we didn't need anything because we got screwed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. Now you can go ride it.
Okay.
All right, good luck.
Thanks.
Anyhow, we're gonna do some more videos on this little guy because it needs some other stuff. We gotta go through and do the maintenance. We're gonna get that gasket. But like I say, overall, it looked like it was in pretty good shape. It's got the upgraded light there in the back. And I was kind of wondering about it because I see it has a whole bunch of spark plugs in here. Oh, those look like hubcaps, baby. This whole thing is all spark plugs. These things are all full of spark plugs. Usually that's not a good sign. Well, tire pressure gauge, that doesn't work anymore. But usually when you see a whole bunch of spark plugs, usually something's an oil burner or just doesn't run really well. I don't really know. It's a little bit cold-blooded. Yeah, I'll put that back together in a minute. I don't believe it has a choke. I believe this runs an enrichener circuit in the carb on these, and that doesn't stay. You gotta hold it by hand, which is kind of annoying. Previous owner rigged up a switch here for the cooling fan, which I don't know if that's necessary or not. The fan motor itself sounds terrible. It's just an oil-cooled machine, or has an oil cooler on it. So up here is a oil cooler. Otherwise, it's it's air-cooled. But we got to go through because we don't know Zippy Zap about it. It does have really good compression. At least when you try to pull it, it feels like it's got a lot of compression. It doesn't smoke, doesn't smell funny. It is running a tad on the lean side, so we'll probably put a carb kit in, or at least go through and clean it out. Valve adjustment, check the brakes. I see somebody put new front calipers on it down there. It's got brand new front calipers. I don't think they bled them out because the brake pedal's the brake lever there is kind of spongy. So we'll do lots of other videos on this thing, folks. So maybe you guys got a Big Bear or something. Or maybe you just want to watch some four-wheeler fixing videos. But I'm just glad that the major thing that I thought was going to be majorly wrong with it really wasn't that bad. We've got ourselves the manual. It's thick. So we should be able to answer most of our questions in here. Or if we can't answer questions, we at least have pictures. And that's good. That's more of my language. That's it, folks. Subscribe, stick around, look out for more videos on the Big Bear.